Thanks very much, Kim. As you've heard, there's a handout rather than my using PowerPoint. So what I want to do is to look at three ways of thinking about the future and then apply those three ways to the context of international education. So by way of introduction, the Australian export of education has been an international success story. We heard some of our foreign speakers just now testify to that. The worry that I've got is that we could become complacent, and the time of greatest danger comes at the time of greatest success, which is when you start to lower your guard, you start to cruise along, and we may in fact be undermined for other countries as they get their act together. We therefore need to listen out for the faint signals of change. And I asked there about the question about whether our own industry could have its own Kodak moment. The phrase Kodak moment originally was coined by the Kodak company to talk about a lovely time in which to take a photo of your loved one, of your pet, etc. We now talk about the Kodak moment as being an example about when Kodak itself forgot to keep an eye on the new technology that was emerging, and of course Kodak has now effectively gone broke because it's been replaced by digital cameras and you won't need the Kodak film. So on the one hand, we have a success story. The warning I'm giving is about complacency and the risk that we could run with having our own Kodak moment. However, the concern also that I've got is the warning from T.S. Eliot that humanity can only stand a little reality. In other words, that too often we want to get away from confronting the issues of the world by paying more attention to sport or entertainment and celebrity as escape mechanisms to get away from the pressures of everyday life. So we could actually be blindsided by change. The theme of the conference, of course, is to think about the future of our industry. And I now want to take you through three ways, three equally valid ways, but different ways of thinking about the future. One is prediction, and my favourite example is Moore's Law, and of course one of our plenary speakers this morning, Stefan from CSIRO, talked about Moore's Law. So I'm going to come at Moore's Law, but from a slightly different angle. But for me, that's a great example of prediction. That here you've got a prediction made 49 years ago about the doubling power of computers, which continues to hold its impact. That's one way. You make predictions, and you want a good example of prediction? Moore's Law. The second way is preferred futures. In other words, you have a vision towards which you wish to work, and then you build a bridge back from the future to the present. In 1962, President Kennedy said that we'll put a man on the moon by 1970. The challenge, therefore, was to how would the Americans be able to develop a capacity to put a man on the moon by 1970. That's preferred, and I'll take you through a technique there as well. And then thirdly, there's the role of possible futures. In other words, what is out there, the signs of change are there, it's just that we don't see it. Another one of our plenary speakers this morning made the comment about her experience at Harvard. It's interesting to note that Harvard University, in the political science area, which is the area that I obviously have an interest in political science, it's very interesting that they taught female students but would never think about employing female graduates in their own department. And they actually made that quite clear. By all means, you can do a PhD with us in this department, but we'll never employ you. So the men never had the women on their radar screen, exactly as our opening speaker said this morning. A good example of this is the way in which we think about the world, paradigms or worldviews. There's the old story about the three people at Grand Canyon. So you've got three people looking at the same thing, same direction, same time. One is a minister of the word who says, "Well, to give an example of God's handiwork." A second is an artist who says, "What a great place to paint a picture." And the third person is a cowboy who says, "What a terrible place to lose a cow." Now, those three people are looking at the same thing, but they're actually seeing something different. And what I want to do is to take you through, in the third technique, a way of looking at things differently. Because the signs of change may be there, it's just that they're on the periphery and we may not be seeing them.